Yo, I'll make this intro quick. This is my immediate reaction mock to the 2025 NBA Draft Lottery, which happened mere minutes ago. This is far from a final mock or any sort of personal ranking, just a quick reaction to how it shook out. I'll have plenty more mocks, scouting reports, and big boards up in the coming weeks, so let's jump into it. Our first pick of the mock is an exceptionally easy one, the grand prize being Duke superstar Cooper Flagg, who the Mavericks will gladly take number 1 overall. There's little to say about Flagg that hasn't already been said. The 6'9" forward averaged 19, 7, and 4. With 3 stocks on phenomenal splits, he coasted to the Final Four, National Player of the Year, Wooden Award, posted an all-time box plus minus for a true freshman. He is undoubtedly bound for NBA stardom and is set to immediately raise the floor and ceiling of his new team. This is a borderline unbelievable jump from Dallas. They had just over a 1% chance to land Flagg, but they do, and he's now set to join an aged core of Anthony Davis, Kyrie Irving, and more. Flagg's going to be good in year 1, but probably not good enough to really move their championship needle. If I were Dallas, I'd be offloading those other guys and probably opting for a full-scale rebuild around Flagg. The Spurs were another big winner on the night, coming away with the number 2 pick, and here they'll take the easy swing on Rutgers supernova Dylan Harper. A jumbo guard with one of the best downhill attacks we've seen in some time, Harper's a phenomenal consolation prize, as it seems he more than has the scoring, handling, and passing chops to handle the NBA reins as soon as year 1. With his creator upside, he shies more towards point/lead guard, but certainly has some off-ball funk to his game with great cutting and potential shooting. The Spurs are nearly equally lucky here, jumping 6 spots to nab number 2, and to me, the pick with Harper is an easy one. You take the most talented player on the board if you're San Antonio, and that is Harper, bar none. Sure, the fits with new additions in De'Aaron Fox and Stephon Castle aren't great, but the potential to add a jumbo downhill force next to Wemby that fits his timeline and should peak at the same time is simply too tantalizing and too good a fit. At number 3 are the Philadelphia 76ers, who saw good luck on lottery night despite a bad luck season. Here, they'll take Baylor hybrid VJ Edgecombe, an athletic dynamo who toes the line between big guard and wing. Edgecombe's one of the more unique players in this draft, with clear upside in his earth-shattering scoring, frenetic defense, fine passing, and the room to grow in all these areas. He might be best served as an off-ball guard or secondary creator, capable of getting downhill in transition and more, but he also has some intriguing on-ball talent. While Ace Bailey could be an intriguing add here in Philadelphia, Edgecombe is simply too talented to pass up in my mind, especially given he could give the team an energy and athleticism boost, which it simply doesn't have at the moment. Edgecombe can fill in the gaps between Tyrese Maxey and Jared McCain well, and just generally be a floor and ceiling raiser on a team looking to compete next year. At number 4 are the Charlotte Hornets, and they'll gamble on Rutgers wing Ace Bailey, who's quickly becoming a polarizing force in the draft space. At around 6'8", Bailey saw an up-and-down year with the Scarlet Knights, posting 17.6 points on 46% shooting overall, but doing so pretty inconsistently, leading to questions about his overall impact, floor, ceiling, and more. Still, with legit size, length, and some of the best shot-making from a prospect we've seen in some time, Bailey makes a ton of sense as a developmental gamble for teams near the top of the draft. Even if he comes around in just a few areas, you're looking at a monster scorer on the wing. This could be the perfect landing spot for Bailey, as the Charlotte Hornets value positional size and versatility in recent drafts, and he wouldn't need to be any sort of on-ball threat with LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller already there. At number 5 are the Utah Jazz, who unfortunately fall to their lowest possible spot. Here, they'll draft Texas hyperscorer Trey Johnson, pound for pound one of the better offensive prospects to pass through the draft in some time. In his lone season with Texas, Johnson averaged just shy of 20 points per game, doing so with nice volume at all 3 levels. While his interior scoring could stand to see a boost, his outside prowess is some of the best in the class, with 40% three-point shooting on nearly 7 attempts per game, with some pretty high-level shot making. The Jazz have shown to value scoring in recent years, and Johnson would easily be their most talented get yet, potentially capable of carrying the offensive load alongside Lauri Markkanen on the wing. Regardless, he would be the best young prospect on the roster and just have a ton of star power. The Wizards are another team who fall to their worst possible spot, landing the number 6 pick. Here, they'll nab Maryland big man Derek Queen. Queen's highly unique, a 6'10" big who anchored a tough Terrapins squad. He's from the same evolutionary line as players like Alperen Sengun and Domantas Sabonis, touting a game not built around athleticism but rather crafty interior scoring, skillful passing, and more. not often seen in big men. Queen averaged 16.5 points, 9 rebounds, and just shy of 2 assists per game, shooting 53% overall and 77% from the line. While his game certainly has traces of throwback in it, there's enough touch there to indicate he could have some modernity too. The Wizards value size and skill, and with Sarr as a shot-blocking, three-point shooting big, that could be the perfect pairing in the front court for Derek Queen, who doesn't add defense or perimeter shooting, but does add just about everything else. The New Orleans Pelicans, too, fall all the way to number 7. Here, they'll chance a pick on Duke wing Con Knipple. A 6'6 sharpshooter, Knipple was Flag's right-hand man as a scorer for Duke this season, canning triples and playing some stingy defense for his size while handling the rock in moderation. He's a high-feel sharpshooter who can inject teams with three-point shooting for the foreseeable future, but has an underrated ceiling with nice interior touch and some real pick-and-roll prowess. Knipple is the perfect pick for New Orleans, offering the off-ball sharpshooting, but more importantly that dash of on-ball production in the pick-and-roll, or potentially even just creating his own shot. I can think of few players more built in a lab to pair with Zion Williamson than Knipple. Here we have the Brooklyn Nets, who, same song as before with those two early risers, fall to number 8. At around 6'5", Yakuchonis is a high-feel guard prospect who thrives with pace, craft, and shot making. One who could potentially even moonlight as a wing with enough positional size and versatility. Across 33 games in a tough Illinois system, he poured on 15 points and just under 5 assists, with legitimate claim to being one of the better passers in this class. For a blank slate rebuild like Brooklyn, Yakuchonis makes a ton of sense as a do-it-all guard with immense upside that they could pour into for the foreseeable future. At number 9, we have the Toronto Raptors, and with their new pick, they'll grab Duke 7-footer Kamon Malawach. Malawach, to my eye, is going to have a pretty narrow draft range near the top. At an immense legit 7'2" with a near 7'7" wingspan, he's the next in line of these immediate impact 7-footers that can thrive on the interior on both sides of the ball. And when you factor in the fact that he's still learning basketball and has a dash of modernism with potential shooting, I think more than a few teams will fall in love with his skill set. And averages of 8.6 points, 6.6 rebounds, and 1.3 blocks per game in around 20 minutes, to me, confirm that. Kamon feels built in a lab for the Toronto Raptors, offering a center archetype they've never seen, and likely becoming that interior force that the team is screaming for, already having decent guards and especially forwards. This will be a super popular pick as we continue into the draft season, if he's not gone at number 9. 10th overall are the Houston Rockets, who fall one spot, and here they'll take talented guard Jeremiah Fears. Fears is a shifty 6'3" point guard who packs immense scoring and passing upside, having averaged 17, 4, and 4 over the course of his true freshman season. He doesn't fit great with the Rockets outside of being a potential Fred VanVleet replacement, but my thought process here with Houston is number 1, it stops his slide as probably the most talented player on a lot of boards, and number 2, this could be a chip used in an eventual trade package. I think any team offloading the likes of Giannis or KD would be more than happy to have one of the best and highest upside point guards in the draft. At number 11, we have the Portland Trail Blazers, gambling on fascinating wing Carter Bryant, who despite a low statistical output has had high potential as a lengthy two-way wing. Bryant averaged just 6.5 points on decent splits across his year at Arizona, but was able to muster around a steal and block apiece in just 19 minutes, displaying some of the best defensive versatility in the class at 6'8". While he projects mostly as a high-field 3-and-D player at the moment, the Trailblazers could certainly use his size and perimeter prowess, alongside the likes of Scoot Henderson, Shaedon Sharpe, and more. Portland has taken some gambles in recent years, and while Bryant wouldn't be an immensely big swing, he feels easily taggable as a long-time positively impactful wing, and his ceiling could very well be higher than we think. At number 12, we have the Chicago Bulls taking a chance on one of the most polarizing prospects in the entire class, Ratio Farm Olm's Noah Esengwe. At 6'9" with the wingspan reportedly in the range of 7 foot, Esengwe's seen a productive season in a great pro league, scoring 12.4 points on 56% shooting, with projectable enough chops from beyond the arc, as well as over 5 rebounds, a 1-to-1 ATO, and solid defense. Esengwe has a unique combination of length, athleticism, feel, proven production, all while being one of the younger players in this entire class, but it's not yet known what he even is, or if he'll be able to harness all of it at the NBA level. Having offloaded win-now talent over the last years, the Bulls, in my mind, are in complete talent acquisition mode, and despite being fairly indescribable as a prospect, Esengwe certainly has talent. At number 13, we have the Atlanta Hawks chancing a unique prospect, South Carolina hybrid Colin Murray-Boyles. CMB is eccentric. The Gamecocks sophomore was one of the more impactful collegiate players, posting just shy of 17 points, over 8 rebounds, 2.5 assists, and nearly 3 stocks per game on 59% shooting. He's an exceptional defender, genuinely nearing 1 through 5 capability, but somewhat flawed offensively as a 6'7" big, albeit with some cool passing funk. Oddly enough, the Hawks are one of a few middling teams in the NBA that don't completely struggle with ranged shooting, with centerpiece players like Trae Young, Jalen Johnson, Zachary Riza-Shea, all spacing the floor well, or at least projecting to. So I think CMB's weaknesses don't compound in Atlanta. Ultimately, I think Colin Murray-Boyles would be a really fun and impactful add to a Hawks team desperate for a change of direction. Rounding out the lottery are the Spurs, this time picking via the Hawks pick and taking a shot on Michigan State one-and-done Jace Richardson. At 6'3", Richardson's a backcourt hybrid, able to moonlight at both positions with solid handling, shooting, passing, defense, nearly everything, as he posted the second highest box plus minus among all freshmen, only behind Cooper Flagg. The Spurs have already seen a backcourt infusion with De'Aaron Fox and Stephon Castle, but Richardson is too tantalizing an add next to Victor Wembanyama, given he's able to thrive as an off-ball player, play the point guard in some capacity, and stingy defense to wrap it all up. He's an immensely high-field player who plays a mistake-free game, certainly one that could thrive next to a 7-foot superstar for the next decade. Kicking off the non-lottery is the Oklahoma City Thunder, selecting via Miami's first-round pick and chancing a selection on international talent Noah Penda of Le Mans. At 6'8", Penda has been one of the best defenders in a great pro league, point blank. He's long, fast, gritty, and projects to be the same in the NBA. All questions surrounding Penda are tied to his offense, which isn't as much a work in progress as it seems, with a decent handle and projectable enough shooting. Penda fits the Thunder's mold well, and if a team is looking to continue to backfill its roster with role players for the future or even as soon as next year, Penda would be a versatile addition to an already potent defense, offering a little more length than the likes of Lou Dort, Alex Caruso, and Cason Wallace. At number 16, we have the first of Orlando's 2 selections, and they'll take a high upside swing and 6'8" wing Will Riley of Illinois. A spindly 5-star wing, Riley averaged 12.6 points on 43% shooting, hitting on 33% of his triples on decent volume, and he had a 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio for the Illini. He doesn't rely on explosive athleticism, but he has a savvy, elastic game on the wing. The Magic have proven themselves a fairly formidable postseason worthy team in recent years, but to my humble eye, they still feel somewhat far from contention. While they could stand to take a more sure shooting bet here at number 16, I like a pick in Riley, who projects to get better as a perimeter shooting wing, but also adds those other skills like plus size, passing, handling in moderation, and more. At number 17, the Minnesota Timberwolves draft who I'd expect to be a riser as we enter the pre-draft process, Colorado State's Nique Clifford. At 6'6", Clifford blends perfectly between high-usage wing and on-ball guard, having averaged 19 points, nearly 10 rebounds, and 4.5 assists per game for the Rams. Minnesota, with Mike Conley only getting older and Rob Dillingham not guaranteed to be impactful in year 2, are in desperate need of some help in the backcourt. Clifford sticks with the team's positional size, offers some things Minnesota simply doesn't have at the moment, and could be ready to hit the NBA ground running as a 5-year collegiate player. At number 18, we have a no-brainer pick, the Washington Wizards selecting jumbo BYU guard Yegor Demon after a small fall. Demon offers one of the more intriguing picks in the entire draft. He's 6'9", is likely the best passer in this class, and has an interesting blend of touch, skill, and ball handling ability, despite real athleticism and physicality concerns. In the 5-star's lone year with the Cougars, he poured on 10.5 points, 5.5 assists, and 1.2 steals per game. In his highs, though, you can see a positively impactful jumbo guard, something Washington would certainly take a chance on with their second first-round pick, and a player they might value much higher than this due to his positional size and potentially versatility. Here at number 19, the Brooklyn Nets take a shot on 5-star forward Asa Newell, one of the top freshman producers in this class. Across 33 games with the Georgia Bulldogs, the combo forward averaged 15.4 points, nearly 7 rebounds, and 1 block and steal apiece, largely anchoring the team's paint with smart, close-range offense and versatile defense. It's not yet known what Newell is at the NBA level, be it a potentially stretchable, lengthy 4 or a scrappy, undersized 5. Regardless, Brooklyn can afford to take a shot on a moldable, malleable frontcourt piece that could pay dividends. It's not fully guaranteed he'll be here at 19 given his freshman production, but if he is, it is a no questions asked selection for the Nets. After earning a postseason bid but subsequently falling in 4 games to Cleveland, the Miami Heat fell from the number 15 pick to 20, a small hit to their draft value. Here, they'll take a chance on Florida and NCAA tournament standout Walter Clayton Jr., who drastically raised his stock in March and early April, despite a really productive final season with the Gators as a whole. A slightly undersized 6'2" lead guard, Clayton averaged over 18 points and 4 assists, shooting 45% overall and a blistering 39% on nearly 8 threes attempted per game. He was, most simply, one of the best players in college basketball, and seems a fair bet as a potentially translatable pro player due to his pure impact and versatility. The Heat have been known to get the most out of their non-lottery picks and are in dire need of a point guard ready to take the reins sooner rather than later. While they may be best served to look for that on the free agent or trade market, Clayton Jr. certainly wouldn't be a bad swing at it. At number 21, we have the Utah Jazz using their second first-round pick, this time taking Georgetown center Thomas Sorber, one of the more surprising potential draftees this year. At around 6'10", Sorber played in just 24 games due to a season-ending injury, but was highly productive in his short stint, seeing 14.5 points, 8.5 rebounds, 2.4 assists, and 3.5 stocks per game. I think the Jazz could stand to add frontcourt versatility in general, and Sorber offers that in bounds as a player that I think could thrive in traditional big man skills, but potentially pack a modern punch with positional versatility, plus passing and potential shooting. Taking Sorber after such a quick rise in the draft space is a gamble, but I feel good enough about his floor should his combine measurements come back strong. With their second first-round pick, the Hawks gamble on a player I truthfully would have considered at number 13, but simply don't know where to place within a talented first round in Ohms Ben Saraf. At 6'6", Saraf has impressed productivity-wise in a good pro league, offering a passing, playmaking wing with some creative handling and on-ball funk. His offensive initiation with his size and fluidity is impressive, and there's enough general feel there to make his potential off-ball impact workable in the NBA long-term. Earlier, the Hawks gambled on a defensive-minded forward in CMB. Here, they'll look to add an offensive-minded wing who could blossom into a super role player or even a star with the right developmental path. At number 23, we have the Indiana Pacers, one of a few picks in this entire back half of the first round that doesn't convey from a different team, and here they'll select St. Joe's forward Rasheer Fleming. At a legit 6'9", Fleming came on strong this year with premier 3-and-D abilities, scoring nearly 15 points with 39% three-point shooting, as well as racking up an evenly split 3 stocks per game. He's immensely lengthy and uses it well, boasting a rumored but unconfirmed 7'5" wingspan. The Pacers have earned their success in recent years, employing several of these lengthy two-way forwards, and Fleming could fit into that as another piece in the core, or a potential replacement if they lose any on the free agent market, or just look to reshuffle their roster at all. With such an offensive-minded team, Fleming feels like a nice defensive bet for Indiana, who should project to be able to get downhill and hit a few triples in moderation. Let's get funky. Here at number 24, the Thunder pick via LA, and they'll select Greek wing Neoklis Avdalas, making his name for Peristeri of the GBL. At 6'8", Avdalas is a fluid wing with positional size and an exceptionally savvy game overall. He can legitimately play 1 through 3 with some offensive highlights reminiscent of a player I'm not yet ready to mention. Simply put, given production, opposing talent, and the eye test, Avdalas is a relative mystery box. But I have a small suspicion based off the latter that he could sneak his way into the first round or at least get close to it. And what better team to take him than the Thunder, whose entire draft strategy will be based on backfilling roster spots and developing players for years to come. Avdalas could be a fun swing for many, but especially for OKC. With their second pick of the first round, the Magic swing on another wing, nabbing UConn freshman Liam McNeely, who sees a bit of a slide in this mock. At 6'8", McNeely projects to be an all-around wing with solid positional size. Despite a lack of gaudy numbers with the Huskies, he should be able to manage at all 3 levels, show some connectivity, and be a passable defender, making him a fairly seamless fit with the Magic if things come around. McNeely isn't a flashy selection as far as the first round of the 25 draft goes, but he has all the tools and makings of a longtime NBA veteran. With the first of their late first picks, the Brooklyn Nets swing on Nolan Traore, a French point guard playing for St. Quentin. Prior to the 2025 season, Traore was thought of to be one of a handful of franchise-changing players in this draft. But despite his great blend of size, athleticism, and feel, he's seen a down season, albeit one that he's getting better in, failing to really improve in several areas, namely to do with efficient scoring, turnovers, and defensive consistency. This would be a no-brainer for Brooklyn, who has all the time in the world to develop a player of Traore's caliber. The potential for a high-level scoring and facilitating guard is very much still there, and a few years under Jordi Fernandez could help to recoup Traore's lost stock. At number 27, we have the Nets gambling on one of the most intriguing prospects here, Megas Bogoljub Markovic. A 6'11" Serbian forward, Markovic thrives offensively with size and skill, having averaged nearly 17 points, 8.4 rebounds, 3.3 assists, and 1 steal and block apiece per 36 for Mega in the ABA. Being productive at just 19 in a good pro league is impressive, and with his fluid size and skill, Markovic is sure to have his fans among NBA front offices. But he's certainly a project given defensive limitations and the NBA jump being sky high. For the blank slate Nets, he'd be an easy gamble as a stretched out four with shooting, short roll passing, and quicker processing than most bigs, a rare archetype in the NBA. At number 28, we have the defending champion Celtics, who risk a pick on UAB forward Yaxel Lindeborg. An essential 6'9" point forward, Lindeborg was a statistical force for the Blazers over the last year, averaging 17.7 points, 11.4 rebounds, 4.2 assists, 1.8 blocks, and 1.7 steals. He's got such a great blend of force and skill, powerfulness and grace, on or off-ball offense, and versatility on defense, all packaged within this massive, great frame. Of all the players I think are equipped to hit the ground running in the NBA, Lindeborg is high on the list, and for the Celtics, who likely have major changes coming and have done well with this archetype, I think Lindeborg is a perfect fit. At number 29, the Suns stopped the slide of Michigan forward Danny Wolf, who isn't likely to be here on draft night, given at least a few NBA teams are sure to bet on his combination of face-up feel and size at 7 foot. In his time at Michigan, he played an essential wing role at 7 foot, scoring over 13 points, dishing 3.5 assists, and coming down with nearly 10 rebounds per game. There were low spots, namely athleticism concerns and over 3 turnovers, but in the highs of Wolf's game, it's easy to see NBA translation with his feel and instincts. For the Suns, Wolf adds a much-needed interior body with plenty of modern flair, which is good whether the team hangs on to its current win-now core or presses the reset button. There would likely need further bolstering on Phoenix's end, given Wolf is probably far from a true 5 in the pros, but you can cross that bridge when you get there. And finally, rounding out the video is one of my favorite prospects in this class, Arkansas forward Adu Thero. Thero's from a long line of guards turned forwards due to growth spurts, now standing at 6'7" or 8, with the counting stats and game to match. Across his 27 games with the Razorbacks, he averaged just over 15 points, nearly 6 rebounds, 2 assists, and 2.3 stocks per game. His shooting is very much a work in progress, and his game needs some tailoring on the fringes in general, but there's few easier bets than Thero in terms of size, athleticism, physicality, and motor on the wing. For the Clippers, Thero would be a solid gamble as a player who could potentially see the floor in moderation early, and long-term as a perennial impact wing.